The City of Lloydminster is looking for input from its residents, hosting the first Coffee with Council this week. Council members gathered at Second Cup on Wednesday evening, where they were available to speak with residents about what was on their mind.
I think our event tonight is intended to let people come in and chat with City Council members on a very casual and open atmosphere over a cup of coffee to talk about things that might be on their mind.
At the event, participants were given outlines of the city's plans and were encouraged to complete an online Lloyd Needs survey for additional feedback.
This is what the council wants to present to people, is that we're here, we're approachable. If you have something that you'd like to discuss, you have a question, we may not be able to answer it immediately, but we'll get you an answer.
The next event takes place on September 26th between 1:30 and 3:30 p.m. at the Legacy Centre. Well, September is Childhood Brain Cancer Awareness Month, and this week the Bobcats joined the fight. In an effort to raise awareness for childhood cancer, the Bobcats have placed gold ribbons on their helmets for the month of September. They also recognized Jared Russell, a childhood cancer survivor who has raised over $55,000 through Canada's Great Cycle Challenge, making him the top earner for 2 straight years.
The bike, that's my trademark. That's all I do in the summer is ride my bike. And I looked online and I found this challenge I can do on my bike, and I stuck with it 2 years. It's a great time to see all the people cheering for me and getting donations. It's a great experience.
The Lloydminster Bobcats donated all proceeds from the intermission frisbee toss to pediatric cancer research, and the winner, Garnet Pellerin, donated his winnings back to the cause. And Lloydminster residents had a good reason to take a spin in a new vehicle today. The Buick test drive event took place at Queen Elizabeth. $20 for every vehicle driven will be donated to the school.
These guys have really got a lot of good school spirit, and they packed us right in the morning. 8 o'clock, there was people lined up here driving. We've been driving all morning. We hit 100 a long time ago, and we're blowing past that. So we're targeting 600-700 drives today. We're ready to rock and roll.
The money donated will go towards funding healthy initiatives for the community, things like new sporting equipment for students and beautifying the park around the school.
So we want to just put more picnic tables out there for the whole community to enjoy our new park that we have.
The Buick test drive event will be taking place until 8 o'clock tonight. It doesn't matter if you're in athletics or academics. The road to recovery from a concussion is a difficult path. In this week's Healthy Living, Josh Ryan explores what to do in the aftermath of a head injury.
Anytime someone is on the receiving end of a collision that leaves them dazed, there's always a chance they've had a concussion.
Check for confusion, check for memory lapses, check for direction loss, anything like that. If you're not too sure how to go about it, always seek a professional help and just to make sure.
There are obvious signs of a concussion like nausea and dizziness, but even minor symptoms are problematic.
It can be things like losing focus and just not feeling like you're 100%. Feel like you can't quite think as well as you would before.
So if they're in school, they'll probably have trouble with studying, probably have trouble completing tasks or paying attention to what's being done as well. And if they're athletes, they will have trouble with their balance, and walking sometimes can be also tricky as well.
The first action to take in recovery is removing yourself from all daily tasks and stimuli for the first day or two.
The easiest way to explain it is you almost kind of want somebody to be as close to being in a dark room as possible without having any sort of stimulation for their brain to heal.
The healing process can be helped along by eating healthy and staying hydrated.
So whether the appetite is full on or not, they still have to keep up with fluids. That's the minimum, and that would also help with the recovery as well.
Once symptoms subside, you then progress to some forms of activity, such as walking, and then maybe jogging after that. But each new day of progression comes with a qualifier, that you had no symptoms reoccur.
Unless you actually 100% from that activity level, it's not safe to proceed further.
Josh Ryan, Newcap News.
Well, back at home, Lloydminster has hired a full-time city manager. The city announced today that not only does Dion Pollard come with a wealth of experience, he has local roots as well. Pollard was born and raised in Lloydminster, and for the past 20 years, he has progressed through administrative positions in St. Paul, Vermilion, and Lacombe.
We had over 50 applications. We shortlisted 4 individuals from across Canada. They were interviewed by City Council, and Dion was the candidate of choice of City Council.
Pollard will finish his tenure as the Chief Administrative Officer for Lacombe before coming to the border city.
Certainly want to have a period of transition with our current interim manager, Rick McDonald, but I don't think he'll need much training.
Dion Pollard's official start date is November 1st. The city also learned it will have more time to upgrade its wastewater treatment plant, though not as much as it would like.
It wasn't the solution I wanted, but it's a solution we'll take for now.
The city had requested a 10-year extension based on current funding efforts and the fact that a brand new facility is needed to bring the city within Saskatchewan regulations.
The province came back with a compromise of 3 years and indicated that certainly would be open for discussion because, as we've laid it out, it's about a 2.5-year period for construction based on what we know today on an $80 million wastewater treatment plant.
He adds desludging the city's lagoons is a sign to the province of the city's intent to do everything it can to meet those regulations.
I think we've demonstrated to the provincial government of Saskatchewan through the Water Security Agency that we are prepared to do what we can do with the resources we have to move this forward. I would optimistically like to say that I believe we will be well underway towards meeting our goal in 3 years.
Albert says the city will continue to lobby the Alberta and Saskatchewan governments and explore all other options to get the project done. The new deadline is December 31st, 2020. The demise of the Canadian Wheat Board, or was it? In this week's Agriculture Report, Gerard Lamphouse sits down with former federal Ag Minister Jerry Ritz as he reflects on the reconfigured Wheat Board.
Well, actually, the Canadian Wheat Board's still around. They're the majority partner in a group called G3. That's Bunge and Salak. The money behind it is, of course, Saudi Arabia, but they're a minor partner. They're the smallest of the three partners. They've continued to build elevators across Western Canada. They've upgraded their port facilities at Thunder Bay and all down through the St. Lawrence. They've expanded in Prince Rupert, and they're building a brand new terminal, some $800 million investment in Vancouver. With 2 loop tracks. So they've continued to move ahead. The great thing is now they can handle all commodities. They're not limited to barley, wheat, and durum. They can handle anything, and they do move a lot of canola and different things like that. So they're not dismantled. They're reconfigured. They're no longer mandatory. That's the big change. Farmers are not under the thumb to sell only to the Wheat Board.
That might be a concern to some people who were pretty happy or pretty felt at ease knowing that they had a guaranteed price. And that is a pain to some people, hey?
Well, certainly, you can never please them all, but we had the support of 3 out of the 4 provinces that were involved. We had the support of every farm group, every commodity group out there, with the exception of the National Farmers Union. So we knew that people were looking forward to doing this. They've been marketing their own canola, their own pulse crops, all of the non-board crops, and doing extremely well. We saw a lot of value added happening in the canola industry that we weren't getting happening in the wheat and durum and barley industry. Now you can't go into any little small town without seeing a distillery that's popped up or a brewery. Those types of things are happening, and they could not have happened under the old board.
Gerard Lamphouse, Newcap News.
This is Newcap Sports.
Lakeland College has its share of successful sports programs, but Rustler Soccer is struggling in 2017. According to Josh Ryan and Lance Phillips, there is hope for the program. Here are the boys from The Gloves Are Off to spread the message of optimism.
Thanks very much. Lance, men's and women's soccer at Lakeland is off to a bit of a rough start this year.
It's not working out well for them.
Especially women's soccer. I mean, they've struggled in recent years, and it's pretty much a restart this year with only 6 players returning. You have 8 people gone from last year.
Yeah, it's been a tough go for them. They're going to get a goal at some point this year. I mean, they're going to score. I mean, it's only a matter of time. They're improving. I believe they are improving. But they have a goaltender that hasn't played before. It's their first time playing. It's they lost a pretty formidable goaltender to Olds at the end of last season. They're going to be in tough. And will they win? I don't know. But even a draw for this team would be huge. So great for their confidence. It'd be so great for them. They have some decent players out there. They just can't find the back of the net.
2 solid 4th years in Ashley Miller and Rachel Fogue, playing center back and left back. They do need those 2 to really continue to be good leaders for them. And they just really need to focus on the 3 pillars that Kevin Wagner always talks about: classroom, making sure you're in the community, and working hard every day in practice in the weight room.
He's big on that. On the men's side, no Stefan Kukovic this year, but Troy Trench is back this year. And this team is interesting. Where do you see them? I mean, they're currently 1-2-1 in the ACAC South.
Yeah, it's tough because I think some of the teams in the South are just so far in gap here. You have a couple of teams at the top that are great, teams at the bottom are not great. And it's whether or not Lakeland can be consistent enough to stay in that third seed. I like Troy Trench again for them. I think Evron Riggin and Elijah Jennings, 2 new additions, 2 international additions, will both help them a lot this year.
This team's biggest problem right now, when I look at them and I watch them, is their lack of focus. It's actually less about their lack of experience and more about their lack of focus. They just are in the wrong place at the wrong times, numerous times, when it should be logical that they're in a different spot. And I saw Kevin Wagner harp on them about that in this past weekend's games, and they just need to focus more on what they're doing, and that could be an age thing. That could totally be an age thing, but if they can get that honed in, they should be all right.
Yeah, and they're focusing on building their possession from midfield. So if they really focus on that the next practice or so this week, I think they'll do better over this coming weekend.
Hopefully more good things on the horizon for Lakeland Soccer to match their volleyball and basketball teams.
Absolutely.